Hi there, I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome once again to Reading Aristotle's Politics. Today we're looking at chapter 4 of book 8 of the Politics, so let's get to it. Book 8 this is all about education, this last book of the Politics, the education in the best regime, the argument is, and therefore the kind of education that needs to be focused by the lawmakers. So let's continue chapter 4. At present, of those cities that are most particularly held, um, to superintend children, that means they have oversight of children. Some inculcate an athletic disposition, thereby damaging the forms and growth of the body. Therefore, they make them athletes. In other words, gymnastics is okay. He's saying that gymnastics is good, but overtraining them that they're athletes, that's too specialized. While the Spartans, although they have not made this error, turn out children resembling beasts by imposing severe exertions, the assumption being that this is the most advantageous thing with cura diverge. In other words, you study the Spartans, what they used to do to children, they made them wild. They would send them out in the wilds, live off the land by themselves, in groups and packs. And this was supposed to make them courageous and strong and able to survive, but this made them beast-like, and this is the problem, right? So, as has been said repeatedly, however, this superintendence or oversight must not look towards a single virtue, and particularly not to this one. And by this one, I suspect he means again, I think the Spartan one. Military virtue, or simply just Yet, even if it did, they have not discovered how to secure even this. In other words, the idea that the idea that they were aiming at is kind of the virtue of a warrior, but the virtue of that they made them beast-like. Even this they did not do right. For neither among the other animals, nor in the case of the nations, right, do we see courage accompanying the most savage, but rather those with tamer and lion-like characteristics. In other words, the overly barbaric peoples, very barbaric, are not warriors. They're not warriors. They're not courageous in that sense. Courage is not something savage. Courage requires refinement. He says, there are many nations, peoples, right, genos, ethnoi, right? There are many ethnoi that are ready to engage in killing and cannibalism, but such as the Anakians and the Henakoi of the Black Sea and others among the nations on the continent. Some of them in a similar fashion, and others more so. These are expert at brigandage, piracy, right? This thing, but have no share in courage. In other words, this is the idea. In other words, courage is something that is lion. The image is the lion, right? Is tamer and lion-like characters rather than beastly and out of control. And therefore, he says, okay, these people have the Black Sea area, and also some in the continent of the larger European continent. They're engaged in brigandage. They're great in brigandage and great in cannibalism, but they have no real courage. Further, we know that the Spartans themselves, so long as they preserved in their love of exertion, had preeminence over others, while at present they fall short of others both in gymnastics and military contests. Now, here this is reference to particularly to Thebes, right? But Aristotle may have also had Macedon in mind as well. That was Macedon Thebes will not only defeat the Spartans, but also Macedonians will defeat, and later the Romans, right? For it is not by exercising the young in this manner that they stood out, but merely by the fact they're training against others who did not train. So there was they trained. In other words, it wasn't that the specific kind of training that made them better, but rather that they were training and others did not. Okay, the Spartans. The element of nobility or beauty, nobility or beauty, because this is kolos. This is the word kolos in here. The element of the kolos, the beautiful, the noble, not what is beast-like, should have the leading role. So therefore, what is noble, what is beautiful, the kolos, should have the leading role in shaping the education of this kind of this gymnastic or physical education, this training to train them for the body, not what is beast-like. Okay, this is like should have the leading role. For it is not the wolf or any of the other beasts that would join the contest in a noble danger, but rather a good man. In other words, it's not a beast, it's not a wolf or other beasts that would join a contest in noble danger, but rather a good man, an agathos. Okay, the good man will choose noble danger. Okay, in other words, the dangerous, noble, it's beautiful, it's worth doing. It's dangerous, but it's worth doing. It is. There's something about it that is beautiful or good. Okay, noble. Those who are overly lax with their children in this direction, leave them untutored in necessary things, turn out citizens who are in the true sense vulgar, making them useful political rule with a view to one task only, and with a view to this, as the argument asserts, worse than others. In other words, those who don't really tutor in other words, those who those who are overlax with their children, right, in regards to this care of training them towards the noble. It only makes them like they do is they turn out citizens who are only in true sense vulgar by what making them useful for political rule with a view to one task only, and with a view to this, as the argument asserts, worse than others. In other words, one should not judge on the basis of earlier deeds, but on the basis of those that are present. For now they have rivals in the contest of education, where before they did not. So we should judge the Spartans now, not on the time when they were better. So therefore, they look at the Spartans, pay attention to the Spartans after what happened with the rise of Thebes, and then not what earlier times the Spartans, but now, and the Macedonians too, that they were undoing. That gymnastic is to be practiced, and how it is to be practiced then is agreed. In other words, gymnastics should be what training the body, but not of vulgar things, not of purely necessary things, not to make them athletes, but that they are willing to engage in dangers, have courage, to build their courage, that they're able to be not beasts, but able to be good men, that they are able to engage in noble danger, right? He says. In other words, up to puberty, lighter exercises are to be employed. Reduced sustenance and compulsory exertion should be forbidden. In other words, shouldn't. In other words, up to puberty, lighter exercise. In other words, before puberty, they shouldn't be really overly taxed. They should not. In other words, reducing their sustenance and compulsory exertion should be forbidden, in order that nothing should impede their growth. They should grow. Before puberty, the body should grow. No small indication that they are capable of having this effect is in the Olympic Games. One would only find 2 or 3 persons who won victories, both as men and boys, because training in youth impairs their capacity through its compulsory exercises. So this is what's really bad. If you overtrain that they're young and they're very good athletes, it's hard for them to grow up. It hurts. It affects them. So before if you overly train them and make them experts when they're young, it harms them as they become older. Aristotle says, when during the 3 years following puberty they have devoted themselves to other subjects of learning, then it is fitting that the next age be taken up with exertion and compulsory dieting. So it is then after puberty, a couple of years after puberty, and then there should be exercise. Then they should have exertion and dieting. For one should not exert oneself with the mind and the body at the same. For one should not exert oneself with the mind and the body at the same time. Each of these acts of exertion is naturally apt to produce opposite things. The exertion of the body impedes the mind, and that of the mind the body. So therefore, this is the next stage, right? He says, 3 years following puberty. During the 3 years following puberty, this is when they should do it. So this immediately, so puberty, and there's the years, immediate 3 years after that. This is when they devote themselves, following puberty. They have devoted themselves to other subjects of learning. Then it is fitting that the next age be taken up with exertion, right? This next age here. And that they should be what? That each of these, that he says, each of these acts of exertion is naturally apt to produce opposite things, he says. Therefore, exertions of the body impedes the mind, and therefore the mind body. But be careful here how you exert them. You want them at this stage. You need to exert the bodies, like get to train the bodies and train them, and maybe exert them harder. Maybe even exert the mind harder too, as well. And be careful. So we'll stop here. This is chapter 4. We'll stop here. This is going to be a short. Again, these I'm keeping these. The rule is that I break these chapters up, videos on chapter by chapter. So this is not super long, but this is doable in that sense. If you have any questions about what he's talked about education of this period, about this and the Spartan example and the weakness of the Spartan example and the necessity of not educating, doing physical education, not to make the beast, but the noble and the beautiful. Please comments or questions and anything, please get them below. And when I see them, I'll answer them. If you like it and share and spread it around. If you've not subscribed, please subscribe. Get others to subscribe. If you've shared this items on social media, share it, please, and get it out there. Encourage others to subscribe so we can grow the channel. If you didn't like it, you can always thumbs down it, but you can say what's wrong uh, in the discussion area below. If you want to follow me on social media, those of you who want to follow me on social media, the links are below. If you want to help me out doing some of these things and contribute in a certain way to build up the channel and to do things, you can do so by becoming a Patreon or a subscriber star. Of course, I understand that I'm done this too late, and I understand people are skeptical, and who knows? I have so few people watching, and no one is really contributing here. So and so it's like so that's it's monkey see, monkey do. So if there's no one there doing it, no one's going to do it. Nothing's going on. And it's but you don't do anything in Patreon. Well, the reason I don't do anything in Patreon is because no one's there. Once there's someone there and they say, hey, I'm contributing something. Why don't you do something for me? Okay, whatever. I understand. What you can do, how else other way you can help me? You can help me by you can buy my book. You can buy a copy of this my book, August 2020. I have other books, but buying this book is directly going to me. It's available at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all the stores, but it's also available. It's also buyable directly by the publisher Lulu. You buy it by Lulu, I will get what the bookstores get, the profit from the bookstore. I will still make something when you buy it from Amazon or Voices. I understand why people do that because of free shipping or quickness of delivery. But Lulu will, I get a bigger kick of the money. So please do this. Why this book? This is not a commentary on Aristotle. This is like Cliff's Notes. Um, it is a kind of looking at the politics in terms of book by book, chapter by chapter, looking at the things, not only summaries, but outlines, structures of the chapters, Allows you to do sometimes charts and graphs of things, of different parts of text and different themes. It ties it to the larger issues of political theory and political science, the different debates that are tied to it, the part of the text, and to highlights the issue that there's the dialogue with other thinkers. So therefore, this is getting it's geared both to the introductory student and more advanced student. There's lots of resources and tools in this book. It's not. It's like 280. It's like 280 pages, man. So it's not like it's a nothing book. It has significant resource of bibliography in that sense. That again, I got this from a friend, and yes, I asked him for permission about using it. I altered it for some aspects that I added some things that he didn't have on it, and but again, why reinvent the wheel, right? This is perfectly designed for students doing it. At every book, at the end of every book, look at this kind of a blank page, so you can add your own notes. So again, this is a workbook. This is a study guide that you can do it. So if you know a student who's studying this, or you're yourself studying, want to study the politics, please buy this. It's okay, $30. I understand why it's the same. It's a little pricey, but I mean, it's chunked up with lots of stuff, and it's very useful. I believe it's very useful. As a person who spent my adult life studying the politics. Um, so that's what does it. We'll finish here. Next time, tomorrow, we'll turn to chapter 5. With that, I'll say goodbye. Take care and have a good day.